All right, so I forgot to turn the tape player on. What we did was we came back, we went into the picture box, removed the coloring, set the image for the picture box to our 00 ping right there. And after we did that, we also came in and we set the size mode to auto size. All right? All right. Then we're going to start putting in our submit question. So what we did was in the submit question click, we're putting in a routine called submit question that we're starting to write right now. And we're saying that if it's empty, well, what did I do? Well, I just want to do another message box. And I've come to the point where I realize over time that if I can be really good at being incredibly lazy. So I'm just going to grab that question, that message box I put in before. I don't want it to say exit the program now. I just want it to say nothing entered in question area. All right. And then something like input left blank. Or input area left blank. It doesn't really matter. So something like that. Again, what you put in there, you should always put professional things in there. All right? I know, again, sometimes you hear me ramble on about different things, but I'll always remember this, that I took an advanced assembler programming class, and we were doing our last program, and these guys were just, it was late at night. They kept the lab open 24 hours because the program was due the next day. And these guys were making, for their routines, were making goofy names. Nothing dirty, nothing bad, just goofy names. And the instructor failed all of them for doing that. And his rationale was, you wouldn't do that if you were a professional out in business. All right. So what I'm telling you is what you put in here should at least sound professional. Okay? Now, one more thing. Now, if I save this and run it, okay, so if I click that, it is coming in, it's showing me that. That's good, right? That's the first thing, all right? So if I click nothing entered in question area, do I really want yes, no? Probably want that to be an okay. Okay, question?
That's what
Oh, okay, yeah. So that actually makes sense. So let's change that from a yes, no to an okay. And again, that's the kind of thing, it comes with experience and it comes over time, and it also comes with building your program sequentially, not trying to throw everything in the world in there and then test it. All right? Now, okay, so I changed it to an okay. Fine. So I come in here, I click submit, it gives me that, and I click okay. Now what? I want to put the focus back on the text box, but I'm done in this routine right now because I screwed up. So in other words, what I want to do in here, as Tiffany said, and she's correct, I want to say text box question dot focus, and then, you know the magic word, return. It's just return because it's a void. Sometimes you need the word return. This is inside of that if statement. This only says if I made this blank, get the heck out of that routine. So now with putting all that in there, if I save and run it again, if I leave it blank, I get the message, it puts the cursor there, but now control is back. I could keep doing that if I wanted to. It would be stupid, but I could keep doing it. All right? And I haven't shown you this, but just so you know, there are actually other things that you can put into a message box. You can put in coordinates. So if you're really anal, and I'm anal but not really anal, and you want that to be smack dab in the middle of the screen, you can position it that way. So there's more stuff that you can put in there. All right? I think that what we've looked at is, in my opinion, at least for now, is enough. All right. So that's the if statement. So what do I want to do next? Well, let's start to think about what we want to do next. Okay? what I want to do, and you know how to do this now, is I want to generate a random number. And I want to generate a random number between 1 and 15. Not 0, because that's the image up there now. That's why I called it image 0. So I want a number between 1 and 15. And as Colin so well put it yesterday, if we want something that's between 1 and 15, we have to actually say 1 and 16. All right? So we want to do that. Okay, that's the first thing. So we want to create that. But then we want to be able to add to that. So let's say it generated 13. We don't want 13, we want 13.ping, because we have to add that together. All right? And then once we do that, we have to tell the system, once we've got that 13, to go out to our folder and find that. Does all that make sense? All right. Now, there's a good way of doing it, and there's a bad way of doing it. Unfortunately, I ran out of time, and I don't have the good way. So the way I'm going to show you, you might have to change your code a little bit, because mine references my C drive and where I've got stuff located. Yours, I'll show you how you can get yours. There's a whole thing that you can check with that's under environment options and stuff. I just didn't have time to do it. No excuse, I just didn't have time. I didn't do it. All right, so we're going to add that code. So we're out of the if. This doesn't have to be an else, because if we got down there, there was something in the box. All right. Right now, if I do put something, if I run this, again, you don't have to do this. I put anything I want, it's not doing anything else. The only time it's going to do something so far is if we put nothing in there. All right? Okay. So I'm going to come down here. Does everybody have the if? All right, so I'm going to just come down here. This is how I did it. Is this the best way? This is how I did it. All right, random RND equal new random. You know what that means. We've talked about that already. That is creating, it's seeding the rand for us, and it's going to allow us to use this. So I said int, and I just called it image number, img number, and I set that equal to rnd.next 1, 16. Okay? That better create a number between 1 and 15. Okay? And again, just so you see it, I'll come right back. Those numbers are these numbers. That's what we're using. All right? And I changed mine so they would line up, and I'm hoping, because I added the zeros, I'm hoping I didn't screw it up. But if I did, then I'll just have to go back and change them back again. I'm not worried about it. All right. So I now have those. So the next thing I did was I created a string, and I called it file name, which may or may not be a great name, but I set it equal to file name. I set it equal to that image number dot toString plus dot PNG. Let me move this over a little bit. Let's shrink that down. Okay. So again, supposing that this gives me back 13, the file name will now be 13.png. Does that make sense? All right. And the next line is the one, there's a lot of typing. I'm going to have to probably put it over 2 or 3 lines. So you've been warned. Okay? All right. What you may want to do, okay, if everybody would do this, what you may want to do is I'm going to take this, come on, and I'm going to go back to where I've got my project, you know, where it is, which for me is here, then here, then here, then here, then here. That's where my image folder is in my project. All right. In other words, my image folder for my project is, I'm going to have to shrink this down. That's where mine is. I'm letting the system know that's exactly where this lives. So if I generate image 13, this is what I want. Does that make sense to all of you? If I generate the number 13, I want AWD1300.ping. That's what I want. All right? But that's the path to it. That's what I care about. So I'm going to grab all of that, and I'm going to just copy it to the clipboard just so I have it. That's what I'm going to put in for mine. Yours is going to be different. I don't think any of you have J. Scott in your path. If you do, then there's one too many of us that have that in there. All right. So I'm going to say picture box 1. I probably should have renamed that, but it's okay. Dot image equals. So I'm setting the picture that's going to be put in there right now. And I'm going to say system dot drawing. No, not again. Okay. System dot drawing dot image dot from file. Then a parenthesis. I've already warned you that there's going to be quite a bit that you have to type in here. I'm just going to type. Now I can put this in. All right, so that's that path plus file name. And let me shrink this down so that you can all see it. I want to put in one more line of code, then I'll shrink it down and we'll talk about what it is. Oops. Picture box 1 dot size mode equal all right, let me shrink this down so hopefully I can make it a size where it's hopefully that's not so small that you can't read it. This is going to be different for you. This is going to be the path to your images folder right there. And make sure you put a backslash at the end of it. All right. This is that path I just told you. You have to find the path to your images file. That's what you have to use right there. So think about what we're doing in English. We're saying to the system, go out to that folder we created called images. In there, you're going to find a file that's going to have that number on it, .ping. That's the file I want you to use. Does that make sense? This would have been much better if I'd be sprinkling comments throughout this. But some of you, if I put comments in here, some of you feel like, well, I got to type in those comments. I got to do this, I got to do this, which is fine, but then you fall behind. All right, that's why there's no comments in here. The good news is we don't have much more to do, and we're done, period, basically. Okay? That's the good news. Okay, hopefully everybody got that typed in, but I want to show you something. Does this make sense? See this right here? All that we just put in, okay? I'm going to grab all that and just watch. I'm going to grab everything from the picture box 1.image equal all the way, not including my file name, but I'm going to grab that. All right? Then I'm going to go back. Remember before we did this? Wherever it is in here, come on, where are you? Where we reset the image. All right, well, we have to reset the image back to 0.ping when we go in and we click the reset button. Does that make sense? So I can use that same code. Again, there is a much better way of doing it than what I'm showing you. What I'm showing you works, all right? But it would be like if I told you to drive to, if you said, I've never been to St. Louis, can you get me there? And I had you go to Chicago first and then go to St. Louis. You could still get there, but it would be a pretty stupid way to do it. This is, what I'm saying is there are a bunch of environment variables that you can use and set. I didn't want to get into a talk on environment. And I've done some work with them and had mixed success. So this works. There's nothing wrong with it. But the other thing we could have done too is we could have probably done this and stuck that into a string or something. There's other ways that we could have done this to probably improve the program, is what I'm saying. Yep, thank you. You're right. Close that paren right there. Okay. Now we're not done, but I'm going to save anyway, and I'm going to go back now to the one that we're writing, all right, which is the one in here. Now there's a few other things that we said we wanted to do. All right, we already talked about them before, so you may or may not remember them. It's fine. But we said, well, now we submitted, so we want that label. Oh, what would you call that label? L-A-B-E-L. I'll let the system tell me what it was. It was, what is it? Instructions? Thank you. All right, so label instructions dot text. No, I'm sorry, not dot text. Dot visible. We don't want this to appear anymore. So we're going to set the visible equal to false. That's the first thing. All right. Next, we want that text box to go away. That was text box question. And it's visible. So we want that to be set to false. Next, we want our submit button. We just submitted, so we want that to be disabled. Learn to spell. And we want our reset button we want that to be enabled. All right. So, I have no idea if it's going to work, but I'm going to try it. There's no sound yet because we have to put that in yet. Do you like this program? Very likely. So that appears to work. All right, does my reset work? Yes. Want that reset will only work if you copied that code down. Does that make sense? Now I'm going to do one more thing, and this is purely aesthetic, just so you know. But I'm going to go back into my design mode, and I'm going to come into here, and with that text box highlighted, I'm going to come in, and I'm going to play with the font a little bit because it's very small font right now. All right, so I'm going to change the font size in here just so it's easier to read. I'm going to make it 14 point and bold. That doesn't make the program run any better, but notice the difference is when I run it now and I put a question in there, it's much easier to read. Yeah, right. Okay, but you get the idea. Okay, so that works, the reset works, the exit works. Okay, so the next thing that we want to do is, as we did previously, we want to come in and we want to bring that sound in. So we want, just like we did before with the images, you want to go over to sounds, you want to right mouse click, choose add, choose existing item, all right, find your sounds folder, and there's 2 files in here. You don't need the MP3 with what we're doing. You need the WAV file. So I'm going to grab that WAV file and tell it to add it. And you see how mine came in. Okay? I will tell you, you know, the reason that I decided to do this today, I did not grade your test yesterday. I was over at that school until after 7 o'clock. By the time I got home, I was just burnt out. All right. And you should all hear this. I have no idea if it's going to happen sooner or later, but I don't know when. My dad, who is almost 89, has been hospitalized now for the last 3 weeks. I feel real guilty because it's 450 miles drive to go see him. All right, so I haven't been able to make the drive yet, but I'm going to one of these weekends. But I've been trying to keep in touch with him and my mother, etc. So it's been a very different time in my life. How's that? All right. So I want to add the sound now. Now I've got that here, so I want to add the sound in here. In other words, at the bottom of this, after I do all this stuff, I want the ta-da to show. All right. Well, it's kind of a good news, bad news situation. You've already got the path, correct? You've all got that path, but you're going to have to change the word images to the word sounds. Does that make sense? Because otherwise it's going to be looking through your image file for that file. So what some people do is they just make a folder and throw everything in the world in there. That is a piss poor way of programming. Please don't do that. All right? Again, then you'll get a bad reputation. All right? So I'm going to just grab all this just so I have it. I'll grab that and I'll change the images. But I want to come down here and I want to put in this. I found this all online. This is how I got it to work. var. Why do we need var? I don't know. But sound player. Oh, I know what it is. And you're going to get an error when you do this, and so am I. We'll get it fixed in a minute. Equal new sound player. All right, again, I'll make this a little smaller so you can hopefully all see it. So these two lines right here. We'll get rid of the squigglies in just a minute. It is an error right now. We'll fix that in a minute. Again, unless yours is exactly the same as mine, you're going to have to adjust that so that it's yours. All right? Does this help to do this? Yeah? Okay. Like I said, what I'm trying to do is bring together a bunch of the stuff that we've done, but unfortunately it always ends up taking longer than I think it'll take. So what that means is it cuts into your lap time. All right? And I feel for any of you who are working full-time and or raising a family and trying to get all this done. I realize how tough it can be. All right? I was fortunate in that when I went for all of my education, I either wasn't married or I was married and we didn't have kids yet. And it was, I don't know how, with some of you, I don't know how you do it now. It is really tough. My daughter, who's pregnant and due at near the end of May, she's talking about going back for her master's degree. And I said, who's going to watch your kid? Oh, well, one of the grandmas. I said, okay, all right. Okay, if I put my mouse over one of these, it says, sound player could not be found. Are you missing a directive or an assembly reference? You may or may not have ever seen a message like this. If you get a message like this, what it means is one of those using system.something is not in there. So I'm going back up to the top of my program. You can put it any place, but I'm going to put it at the very top. And I'm going to say using system.media. So I put that new first line in there. Using system.media. This line that's in blue. All right. Now let's go down and see if I still have the squigglies. Well, that isn't good. does not exist in the current context. Okay. Well, that's funny because I thought I typed it in the same way that I'd done it. Var sound player equals new sound player. No. All right. Sound player. Oh, it's sound player dot play. There it is. That was it. Sorry. Not sound player play, sound player dot play. Apologize. Now's the big unveiling. So, all right. Will this program ever end? All right. That doesn't make much sense to answering that question, but you get the idea. All right. And notice my submit button is now grayed out. All right, when I click reset form, notice that the reset button is now grayed out. And notice when I do put in something in here and I submit it, all that went away. If you've got any of that missing, you left out a line or more of that code. Does that make sense? All right.
It says no.
Okay. What was the question?
Does that make sense?
Oh, okay. It was funny, there were kids of all ages in there yesterday. I had a little girl, she must have been, I would guess, 7 years old, just a really cute little kid. Kept saying, Mom, and she must have typed in 10 questions. She said, Mom, how do you spell this? How do you spell famous? You know, because, and even her mom was laughing. You know, she's like, you know, because we're trying to sell, we're having a camp with App Inventor this summer for the middle school kids. It's like July 17th through the 21st. And I'm going to teach them to make this in App Inventor. You know, and I was telling Mom about it. She goes, "You wouldn't take her, would you?" You know, she's 7. No, sorry, we wouldn't take her. I said, well, bring her back in, 5-6 years, whatever it is, and yes, we will. So it sure as heck is not perfect. One thing I didn't do, if you look up on the screen here, okay, may or may not show, right now that button should really be disabled because there's nothing to reset. So when you first start the application, you understand what I'm saying? When the application first starts, technically that reset button should be disabled. All right? And I put that into form load. You didn't have to do it there, but I did it there. In fact, one thing that we could do, let's look. What are we doing in our reset routine? Remember we did this one earlier? All right. Making that visible, making that visible, making that visible. Yep. Looks to me like that's doing everything we want to have happen. So in form load, I can just call reset image. Real fast way to bring up form load is just double click on the form. All right, reset image. Okay. Now when I run it, now my reset form is grayed out. If you didn't do that, the program still works. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. But again, I'm trying to add an aura of professionalism to the program. You may or may not agree as far as whether or not I succeeded. One more thing I want to do. Now I'm going to show you something that's brand new. I showed it to you, but we're going to do it. Okay? The reason that I had you write different routines for all these is I'd like you to go back into design mode, if you would. And it's going to be unbelievably simple. Okay? But I'd like you to go down in your toolbox and find menu strip. Just drag it and put it right underneath the title, which just says the Magic8Ball sees all, knows all. All right? If it looks like this, that's right where I want you to be. So just take a menu strip and drag it up to the top of your form and let go. If it looks like this, that's good. Because we're going to have this program run from either the button or from clicking a menu. All right? That's in a later chapter. You're all advanced enough that you can do this. All right. This is the way it's going to appear on the menu, so I'm going to put the same things. I'm going to put submit question. All right, and then that's going to be my first menu option. Then I can either put a sub-menu in here, or I can put another menu option. You all see this? If I click the down one, it's going to put it underneath here. If I click this one, it's going to put it, it's either do I want it to go down or do I want it to go, vertically or horizontally. I want these, I'm going to have just 3 horizontal options. So this middle one here, I'm going to type in, and for this one, I'm going to put in reset form. And then I'm going to go over one more time, and I'm going to just say exit, not even exit program, just exit. So those are now my 3 things that are in there, okay? The good news is, just like buttons, menus answer to click events, just like a button does. All right? Really, they're, and some books will even say they're just a button without the button. All right? Well, I don't like this name. Submit question tool strip menu item. All right? It's not terrible, but I don't really like it, so I'm just going to change the name. I'm going to make it a little easier on myself. I'm just going to call it submit question menu item. Okay? Then I'm going to call this one reset form menu item. And I'm going to call this one exit menu item. All right, to me that makes a little bit more sense. Okay, you may or may not agree. Now, please look up on the screen. After I've done that, I double click on the menu option. There's my click event. So now, if it's submit question, that's all I have to call. Submit question. All right, so there's that one. If it's reset form, all I have to call is reset. I guess we called it reset image, but that's fine. All right. And for the exit, I don't know what we called it. We called it exit? I don't remember. Is it end? No.
I don't think we made one for.
Did we put it right inside of here, or we put it into the exit button? Okay, I'm going to take it out. And I'm going to call it end program now. And I'm going to just paste it right in here. Private void end program now. And then paste that back in. So now I can call end program now from that menu item. And I know we did that quickly, I understand. But now when I run this, now I can click submit question from here. All right. Is anyone truly happy? And now I can submit it from here. I don't know why it keeps coming back with that one. It shouldn't, but it is. All right. I can reset. Okay, then I'll ask, am I hot? Yeah, that's a great question. But remember, we also set that for our accept button, so I can just hit enter. All right. So, and I can reset the form this way. All right, so I tried to submit here. Am I tired? So I can submit this way, very likely. All right, I can reset this way. I can exit this way. So we now have a fully functioning program, all right, that allows us, for lack of better words, to play a game. But to me, it made more sense rather than doing one of the ones in the book, doing something like this, because it brought up a lot of stuff that we either have gone over but kind of gone over quickly, or other stuff that I think that at least you should know. Anybody have any questions on any of this stuff? There's still a lot of stuff we could do to this. I could have centered this. I could have made the font even bigger. Maybe this box is too big, etc. But that's all aesthetic stuff. You can worry about that when you want to worry about that. All right. To me, it passes the so what test. It's good enough, for lack of better words. And I think I've shown you this before, but I'm going to show it to you again anyway. All right, where I've got this thing located, come on. If I go back to the folder where I created this, all right, those are the folders I have in here. You should be used to this by now. If I double click on the actual folder that's in here, and I find a folder that says bin, and I find a folder that says debug, and I find an exe file, I can run it from there. All right, so why does that matter? Because technically you could take this, and anyone who had the .NET assembly, they don't need the .NET program, they need the .NET assembly. So if you had a friend, they might have to download a file, then they could play this on there. So you could give them any of your executable programs. Some machines actually have it in. I think Mac machines do. And it's going to be interesting. This hasn't happened yet, but it's going to happen sooner or later. Mac has decided that, or I should not Mac. I should say that Microsoft has decided that they're going to make Visual Studio Apple compatible. They are doing it right now. They have never done that in the past before. You know, it was like, what's the old Hatfields and McCoys? That's how Microsoft and Apple have always been. So somebody is going to come into this program and they're going to have a Mac. It means I've got to do a whole bunch of conversion every time they turn in something. All right. I'm glad none of you have Macs, although I have one at home. All right. Any questions on this? Hopefully you found that this was worthwhile. If for some reason yours doesn't work, all right, you've got an error, you think I typed it imperfectly, what am I missing? Then I would suggest, you know, if you want, I'll be more than happy if you guys want this. I can print out hard copies, all right, of my program. I don't care. And then you can look at it. If you think that'll help you, you know, is there anybody who wants a hard copy? I hate to keep printing out hard copies if you're not going to use them. I'm just wasting paper. All right, at least one. All right, I'll print that out. I have no problem doing that. But again, there's only so much we can do in a class period. All right, we've blown away. We started at what, 1:45, almost 2 hours on this. But hopefully it was something that you got something out of. So tomorrow when you come in here, it will be the written test for Chapter 8, just like I did this morning. I'll give you a quick review. Tomorrow you will get back. I'm going to grade these right now. I hope to grade your retakes tonight. All right, we'll see. I'm going to do the best I can. All right, I've got such an exciting life that now 2 days a week, I do laundry. So Thursday and Sunday have become laundry nights. All right, so I'm going to do my laundry tonight. So it depends. You're laughing, but not the last time, but the time before that I did the laundry, they had a problem with one of the machines. And literally, if you walked in there, it was like out of a comedy show. It was just the floor had soap on it that high. You know, and I had to sit there, and there's no one else around. I'm thinking, well, I really should do something about it. So I found where they had a bucket. I spent half an hour cleaning up their frickin' floor. And I found out later it was a problem with their machine. It was nothing that I did. So, all right. Anybody else want a hard copy of that? All right. So the last hour is yours.
So tomorrow after the test, are we going to go over chapter?
Yes, if you haven't done so, now a couple people have even said, hey, I had some problems with stuff in 6 we didn't go over. We'll do the best we can to get through as many problems as we can. So if 5 people raise their hand, and I call on Colin first, he goes, yeah, I've got problems with these 4. We'll do one of his, then we'll go around. All right? So we'll get as many of these done then as we can during that time.